What's up, everybody? Welcome into another TFA 2021 Rookie Profile video. I'm Robby Jeffries, and today we are discussing a really intriguing wide receiver prospect that I'm kind of high on. We are diving into the rookie profile of one Rashod Bateman, wide receiver for the Minnesota Gophers. Let's jump right into Bateman's recruitment coming out of high school. He was a four-star recruit coming out of Tifton, Georgia. And he was actually 61st in that 2018 recruiting class for wide receivers, which is much lower than a lot of the other wide receivers coming out in this 2021 rookie class. He's lower than Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he does have a nice junior season, and he gets offers from some mid-majors, App State, Coastal Carolina, Florida Atlantic, Chattanooga, and then the big one, right, Minnesota. So he does choose Minnesota, but then he goes absolutely ballistic in his senior year. He gets all-state honors from Georgia, and the bigger schools come knocking. So Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, among others. But he does decide to stay with his commitment to PJ Fleck in Minnesota, and he heads to the Twin Cities. So let's dive into his time as a Golden Gopher. His freshman year, he really makes a name for himself. He breaks out in his freshman year, actually getting 27.7% of the team's target share, which makes his breakout age 18 and a half years old, which is one of the best in this class and analytically very good. He has 51 receptions, 704 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he does all of this with now NFL wide receiver Tyler Johnson also on the team. So it's impressive that he chisels out his own role in this offense despite other NFL talent in that wide receiver room. Fast forwarding to his sophomore year, Bateman really breaks out into a new level, not just good, but great wide receiver play. He only gets 9 more receptions from his 2018 total, but he nearly doubles his yardage, going from 704 yards to over 1,200 yards. And he does the same with his touchdowns, going from 6 to 11. Out of wide receivers who had at least 50 receptions in that season, only CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase had a better yards per catch than Bateman's 20.3, as well as only the aforementioned Tyler Johnson and Ohio State's Chris Olave had a higher receiving touchdown total than he did in the Big Ten. So we are talking about a very, very impressive sophomore season stacking on top of a impressive freshman season, basically around other NFL stars statistically. So let's go to his junior season, and that's a weird one for Bateman. The Big Ten was not going to play football, and so Bateman opted out. And then the Big Ten reverses course, and they want to get started for late October, and so Bateman opts back in. He ends up playing 5 of the Gophers' 7 games that season. And in those 5 games, he actually had 3 games of over 100 yards and with at least 8 receptions. So he's doing really well, even in a weird COVID year. If you take all of the FBS wide receivers from the past 2 seasons, Bateman stacks up really well with them in terms of most receptions of 15-plus yardage. Devonta Smith leads the way with 59, but then Bateman slides in at that number 2 spot with 47 receptions of 15-plus yards, and then Jamar Chase at 46 right behind him. So we're talking about the top of this wide receiver class with Chase and Smith. Bateman is right there with him in terms of big playability. So let's talk about some of the things that I think Bateman does really well. And the first thing you'll see when you turn on the tape is his size and speed. Things that you just cannot teach at the NFL level. He has both of these things. He is 6'2", 210 pounds. He has that prototypical size that you want in an alpha wide receiver at that level. Let's go into fantasy history here. Wide receiver 1 in 2020 was Davante Adams. He is 6'1", 215. Go back to 2019. The wide receiver 1 was Michael Thomas. He is 6'3", 212. And then we go back to 2018. The wide receiver 1 that season was DeAndre Hopkins at 6'1", 212 pounds. I see a trend here, and Bateman is of that same size mold at 6'2", 210 pounds. And even with all that size, Bateman has some really good quickness as well. He reportedly ran a sub 4.4 at the Exos Combine, which was basically, since the Combine got canceled, some potential draftees were invited to this sport performance company to kind of back up these times. We are going to see Gophers have their pro day on April 1st. So we can kind of back up this 4.4 time. I expect him to run in the mid 4.4s. So, he won't be the fastest wide receiver in this class, but I think you have to love this weight adjusted speed that he's going to bring to the table. The second thing I like about Rashod Bateman is his versatility. This man can play on the outside. He can play in the slot. He can be a big sideline target for you. You can run him across the middle and he can create separation. If you send him on a 9 route, he can get behind defenders. He runs an entire route tree starting week 1 for you. In 2020, he ran 68% of his snaps from the slot, and that's after playing 80% from the outside in 2019 when Tyler Johnson manned the slot. I think that makes him super unique for this class, where we see a heavy majority of this class being undersized slot wide receivers, right? And a lot of these guys are being mocked in the first 2 days. So if you're looking from a team perspective for a bigger wide receiver, Bateman kind of holds that lane really to himself with a few other names. And so I think that helps his draft pedigree, but I also think it just adds to my first point of him being an alpha wide receiver, a wide receiver 1 that can do it all for an NFL offense. The final thing I like about Bateman is that he doesn't have a lot of holes to his game. I believe he has a really nice floor. I can talk about a lot of what I like about his game, his ability after the catch. He has really good release packages at the line of scrimmage. His catch radius is very impressive. He makes good adjustments to the football when the ball is in the air. He doesn't really have an injury history, no off the field issues. But basically what I'm trying to say is that he's a very safe player that I feel comfortable saying will not be a bust at the next level. He has enough moves in the toolbox. He has great athleticism and plenty of willpower to kind of take and grow into this dominant alpha wide receiver in the pros. So let's flip the script and talk about some of the concerns I have in Bateman's game. And I think when you turn on the tape, the first thing that will pop out to you is the drops, right? The drops are just so disappointing sometimes. He actually had a 7.7% drop rate, which is one of the higher numbers in this class. He has super big mitts, but he struggles in one particular area of the field, and that is the short to intermediate routes over the middle. I think this specific location kind of tells you 2 things when you turn on the film. This is where he had 16 of his 19 drops, and I think what that tells you is he doesn't always concentrate on the football. He's thinking about the big play. He's trying to weed through traffic. And at times he's thinking about that middle linebacker on the slant routes that's going to put a licking on him as he tries to reel in that ball. And that's something that's tough to do, but I know that that's something that an NFL coach will want to clean up and can clean up with his game. But as we sit right now, there's just too many times where Bateman is focusing on the play after the catch or that hit coming after the catch, and he does not see the ball all the way into his hands and secure the catch. I think the second thing that people will knock on him, and it's not as big of a concern for me, but it's something that's big enough where I should bring it up, is that people will talk about his false step that he has at the beginning of his takeoff into routes. I see it. I acknowledge it. I'm just honestly not sure how much that really affects his overall game. I mean, at times you can see where he lets defenders get into him, but honestly, at other times, that delayed step seems to kind of throw off as he hits a quick jab step and takes off into his route. So I do think that's, again, something that an NFL wide receivers coach will want to work on, will want to clean up and eliminate from his game so his takeoff can be smooth at the next level. So not a huge concern for me, but it's something that you will see when you watch the tape. So let's talk about the NFL draft, where he might go and some good fits for him. I've seen Bateman consistently mocked in the late first of NFL drafts, and I agree with this evaluation of his talent. I think there's a lot of playoff teams from this past season that could use a person of his skill set. Just the versatility really allows him to land in a lot of spots in that 16 to 32 range. And I think some teams I'd like to see him go to, Tennessee is one. Opposite of A.J. Brown. That just gives me a tingly sensation with Brown streaking down the field and Bateman filling in the rest of the spots, kind of replacing the Corey Davis role, where we finally saw Corey Davis step up in 2020. Las Vegas is another spot I can see him going to. It'd be a big boost for Derek Carr and that passing offense. Chicago, again, opposite of Allen Robinson, move Mooney into the slot. I think Bateman would have success there. And then another really good spot I like is with the Saints. They absolutely need wide receiver help beyond Michael Thomas. And The only issue is I'm not sure he lasts to them at pick 28. To basically wrap this up, I think Bateman is a guy that can fit in a lot of different offenses and can have a lot of success for different NFL teams. Extremely safe player, but I don't want that to make it sound like he doesn't have a big ceiling as well. We talked about the mold and the alpha wide receivers that are wide receiver ones in fantasy. And I think Bateman fits in that same mold. But other than that, thanks for tuning in to another TFA rookie profile. Go ahead and give that subscribe button a little click. Give the bell a little ding. That will help you get all of our past, present, and future content. We have more rookie profile videos coming out, so we will see you on the next video.